Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
Todd, I'll love it. Todd, I'll love it.
Todd and Craig, good to hear you guys.
Todd, I'll love it.
This is Attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Honestly, you could not be any more spot on.
Now, from the Black Diamond Group mothership in the studios of 98.5 UPS, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before. Yeah. The spirit of the woods is like an old good friend. Makes me feel warm and good inside. And I knew his name, and it was good to see him again. 'Cause in the wind he's still alive. Oh, Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I'll join you in the big hunt before too long.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting in a Black Diamond Group mothership in the middle of the mitten in a beautiful deer blind, surrounded by a stunning green, nutrient, corn-fed, apple, corn, sugar, everything field in the middle of the mitten with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. He is Mando. He is the Mandalorian. I don't care if he wants me to call him that or not, but he is just a superstar on every which way there is, folks. He's the gassiest, dankiest, best human you will ever come across on planet Earth. Third rock from the sun. The water is wet. The sky is blue. He was always a fan of Marianne. I was Ginger. But how about you? How you doing, Craig?
I'm amazed you can get that to rhyme every time.
You know, wait. I'm amazed you can get that to rhyme every time.
You know.
You just rhymed.
I know. I'm a poet and didn't even know it.
How you doing, Craig?
I am fan-flippin-tastic, Todd. How are you?
Well, obviously, per the opening, I could not be better in the great state of Michigan. What took place last Wednesday, Craig?
That would be the start of firearm deer season here in Michigan.
Everybody's
got the day off. It's all it's almost like a national holiday here.
Yeah, for those listening across the country and the globe, because we are downloaded in 60 countries now, New Zealand is still the second largest country. We love Kiwis out there, Kiwis that listen to the show, and everyone across planet Earth. State of Michigan opening rifle season. It was bow. Rifle started, so everybody's out there in their deer blinds. So if you're listening to the show, turn it down. What are you blaring our show for?
Yeah,
Come
no
on,
kidding.
man.
No
Come
kidding.
on.
Come on, man.
Because this show has a certain scent to it. And so if you're blaring it across your blind or camp, it's going to blow in the wind, the deer's going to scent it, and away goes Bambi, and you're not going to get your buck or your doe.
I was unaware that the show had a certain scent to it. I didn't
Well, I'm
know
always
that.
wearing Drakkar 1984, so
Well,
it always
that's
has
true.
a set to it.
That's
but
true.
we love Uncle Ted, so big shout out to Uncle Ted, Ted Nugent. We love you. We cannot play and thank you enough, Uncle Ted, for that anthem about the legend, the man, Fred Bear. And a lot of people met Fred when he was in Michigan, Craig.
Oh, yeah. Yep. He was a big deal here. Big bow hunter, big bow enthusiast, big bow manufacturer, dear Fred Bear was. Yep. So
A lot of people feel, rightfully so, he led the way.
into the modern hunting that we do to this day.
But we want everyone out there to, be safe. There's a lot of first-time hunters out there with their family. You're taking your sons, your daughters. So before we get to the show, Sam Gross, the most amazing psychotherapist, is coming on the show, folks. You're definitely going to want to tune in and stay tuned in and listen to what Sam has to say. We work with Sam every day at Levitt Law Firm, as do other attorneys and courts and individuals around the great state of Michigan. He was on the show previously. We love Sam Gross out of Metro Detroit. But
Good guy.
Great guy.
Yes.
But hey, Craig, before we get to hunters and hunting and some information, we pre-recorded last week's show, correct?
That's correct. That is correct.
So you and I both would be amiss if we did not thank, which we do all the time, we missed thanking veterans because we pre-recorded early in the week and Veterans Day was last week. So again, it's a little, post-Veterans Day, but every day we love and appreciate our veterans, those who have served, sacrificed, who are still serving. A number of your family members have served. A lot of my family members have served all the way back to World War I. My grandmother even worked in a tank factory during World War II.
Yeah.
So, which is amazing. But so thank you to all the vets and their families who have sacrificed so much.
I'll say this. I say this every year, and I'll say it again this year because nothing has changed. There's 3 days. There's Memorial Day, where we memorialize the people who fought for our country and lost their lives. There's Veterans Day, who are the people who served and who aren't actively serving anymore. And then there's Armed Forces Day, the day that people are serving in our military and keeping our country safe. Today, this past week was Veterans Day. And, I'll say this, I say it every year and I'll say it again. If you don't like living in this country, go live in another country and see how you like it. You won't. You'll be rushing to get right back because this is the greatest country in the world, and it's because of our veterans and because people who fought for our freedoms and fought all across the world for this country to be free, for us to be able to do the things that we do, enjoy doing this show, going to concerts, being able to celebrate with Sam, Thanksgiving coming up. It's all because veterans fought to keep us free, and this is the greatest country in the world, and if you don't believe it, go live somewhere else, and you'll be rushing to get back. And you need to thank every veteran you ever see. They're always embarrassed by it. They don't like to be thanked because they just were doing their job, but you should thank them wholeheartedly every single time because they're the ones that keep us free. So
could not have said it better. There's also, you don't hear about the men and women who are currently serving and who have served in this capacity that are keeping our country safe at so many levels, whether it's covert operations or special forces or SEALs. There's so many great men and women out there, and we just appreciate all of them. But
yes.
So thank you. We absolutely love and appreciate you right here on our show, 98.5 Black Diamond Group. I mean, we just love you. But Craig, moving forward, I went to Metallica last weekend.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
I mean, 5th time seeing Metallica. Saw them at Joe Louis Arena at the old Pine Knob when it had rained and the lawn was torn up and everybody was throwing. I was down in the bowl at Pine Knob, DT Music Theater, they call it. It's back to Pine Knob now, folks. Clarkston, Michigan. And for those of you listening, somewhere else, it's one of those amphitheaters with seating under the amphitheater roof and then the grass behind us. Well, Lars had to come out during the warm-up and tell people to stop throwing sod or they weren't going to go on the show. And I'm going to tell you right now, if any of you have ever been to a concert, and this was back in, I think, the 90s, I can't recall exactly, I couldn't even tell you when it was. All I know is that I think Linkin Park opened up for them. I saw Linkin Park twice with them. I mean, it was dangerous. I mean, I'm not fooling folks. I mean, people were grabbing like landscaping-sized sod and just chucking. Lars came out and said, what Lars does the best. But Metallica was great. They were at Ford Field Friday, Saturday, opened up with Mammoth, Eddie Van Halen's son, Wolfgang. he was fantastic. And then, of course, Pantera just destroyed it. Pantera. I love Pantera. They were so great. And then, of course, Metallica came out and just destroyed it. And I couldn't go Sunday because I had to get up for court Monday, be a responsible adult that I try to be when I can be. I sent my daughter Rachel there, who's also an attorney, and they played, Sandman and all those other good tunages that, they didn't play Friday night. So Jen and I already bought tickets when they come back to the States in 2024. They're going to take a break now. That was the last show in the States for this year. They're going to go to Europe early next year, come back middle of the summer, and we already bought 2-day passes to one of the venues next year. So, and it's an outdoor stadium. But Metallica, we love you. Just freaking, I'm sure a lot of listeners were there. I know a lot of people were there. My buddy Chucky Martinez was there. So many people were there, Craig. And that was the 5th time I had an opportunity to see them. I saw them at the Silverdome, 1999, when we thought the roof was going to cave in on us. Pine Knob. Saw them in Chicago when they came out with their cover album, the Garage Band cover album, whatever they call it. But anyway, I just want to give a big shout out to Metallica, Mammoth, Five Finger Death Punch was there Sunday night, and Pantera, Craig. And, of course, Uncle Ted, who opened up the show. We love you.
It's interesting, most of the years if Metallica, that big show, was coming to Ford Field, that would be the biggest seller and the hottest ticket at Ford Field this year. But this year, actually, the actual home tenant of the field is probably the hottest ticket in town, the Lions. So
I would say yes, but Metallica was sold out. It was absolutely insane. Lars, James, Kurt, everybody sounded just as they did in the 90s and 2000s. And Lars, at the end, I thought they were going to do an encore, as they typically do. They didn't, though. Came out and everybody's already leaving, and said in 1984 they played in Royal Oak, Michigan. I don't know if it was a Royal Oak Music Theater. And he said Michigan has always been so good to them from day one, they always come back to Detroit. And that's why they're going to keep coming back.
And Jason Newsted, who used to be their bass player, was it the bass player, Jason Newsted? Right. Who is from around the Kalamazoo area. And so
right on.
He replaced Cliff Burton after he passed away.
There you go.
And so, Michigan does hold a soft spot in the hearts of Metallica. So, good. I'm glad you had a good time. Glad the show looked like
great time. Can't wait to see him again. I had earplugs in because I'm 58 and I blew my eardrums out early in life at concerts, going to see Boston and Kansas, and then they hear bands in the 80s. And so, I've got to protect the noggin. But Craig, we are a law show. I'm attorney Todd L. Levitt. You are Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. I love you, brother. Happy birthday, Little John. It's Little John's birthday.
Oh, hey!
So we're going to be calling Little John. But Sam Gross, psychotherapist, is coming on the show next. And we got some hunting info to get to with Sam. So we have to go to break, right, Craig?
We do. And when we come back, Sam Gross will be here.
I might not be here. I might be standing in line at the next Metallica concert.
No, probably not.
No, I will.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before. Yeah. The spirit of the woods is like an old good friend. Makes me feel warm and good inside. And I knew his name, and it was good to see him again. 'Cause in the wind he's still alive. Oh, Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I for too long.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, turning it and burning it, toking it and smoking it. Sitting in the studio deer blind with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. Craig, can you keep it down, please?
I'm trying to keep it quiet. I don't want to
Came
spook
back
that
strong
big
though with
13.
Uncle Ted. It's hard to do that.
I know. I don't want to spook that big 13-point buck outside the window there.
Yeah, we're joined by Sam Gross, folks.
Yes.
Sam, welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. How you doing there, Mr. Sam Gross?
Pretty good, guys, and thank you for having me on. And yes, a shout out, as you would say, Todd, to our veterans.
Oh, yes.
We love them. Sam, I mean, you've been treating for decades individuals, probably couples, and I'm going to take a guess that you've treated our heroes, veterans also?
On a regular basis.
That's fantastic. So Sam, we're going to talk a little bit about you, your background, for those that didn't tune in previous show. But first, I got a little bit of information for all of those that every hunter should know. I mean, and most do know, but there's some newbies out there. So obviously, most important, I'm a Second Amendment guy. We absolutely unequivocally love the Constitution. The Second Amendment's one of our favorite, Craig, right?
Exactly.
So treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Yes.
Handgun, firearm.
Yes.
That's 365, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Safety, safety, safety. I practice it myself. I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing. Safety. Craig, number two. Sam, you ready for number two?
Yes.
Be aware of your surroundings, folks. Know your target and what is beyond it, especially what is beyond it. Please know what is beyond it. Know your surroundings. And again, most hunters know this. We're just reviewing. We do this every year. And here's a third. Ready for the third?
Yes.
Unload firearms when, crossing obstacles or getting in and out of an elevated stand. We hear it every year. What happens, Craig and Sam, every year?
Somebody ends up prematurely discharging their weapon, and you end up having somebody getting hurt, and you don't want that. That's not what this is all about.
Right. Now, we've talked about this on the show in regards to other issues. Obey, folks. Obey. No trespassing signs. They are there for a reason. Now, there's the issue. We're not going to get into it. You're following a blood trail. You take the shot, whether you were bow hunting or with the rifle season, and the animal strolls onto someone's property. I'm just going to say it. If you don't know the person, they have permission to cross onto their land, that's trespassing, folks.
Yep.
And I know there's so many issues that go along with that statement. And again, obtain landowner permission to retrieve the game that has wandered onto the private property. Just go to the farmer. Go to the landowner. If I owned a lot of land, as somebody who loves the outdoors, I get it. You took the time, you and your son, you and your daughter, you and your family, your father, whoever you are with, friends. It should be yours, not somebody else's. But unfortunately, as a lawyer, I've heard the stories the opposite way. And, of course, it's the law. Wear hunter orange to increase your visibility to other hunters.
Yes.
And hunter orange garments, I'm referring to as caps, hats, vests, or jackets, including camouflage. And it must be at least 50% hunter orange and be visible from all directions. Go to Jay's, Cabela's, Dick's, your favorite place to purchase. There's a lot of great northern outfitters in Grayling. Jordan Wakely works at a great place up there in Grayling. And make sure that, you get more hunting and tree stand safety tips. Just go to michigan.gov/hunting safety. The DNR does such a great job with regulations and summaries. They answer all your questions. So big shout out to the DNR. And by the way, you recall that audio that we played about the mountain lion cougar?
Right.
Red fox.
Oh, it's a red fox?
It was confirmed by the Michigan DNR and a number of biologists. It was a red fox. Yep. I was wrong. But I thought it was a cougar. It sounded very similar. But enough of that. We wish everybody good luck out there. Please be safe. First timers, enjoy it with your father, your grandparents, your uncles, aunts, family members. Good luck. Let's talk about Sam, Craig.
Sam Gross is here with us. Sam. Hey,
Sam,
welcome back to the show.
Welcome back,
love having
Sam.
you on. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam. Your degrees and what qualifies you to be a psychotherapist.
Well,
besides the obvious, because you're a little bit nutty like us.
Well, you have to be in this field, right? Yeah. But that also sends a message that, people can't accept themselves or their shortcomings as what is normal, what isn't. I don't have an answer for that. I do have a master's degree in clinical psychology and a specialty in addictions, and I do work with mental health, schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, anxiety, couples counseling, mental health issues, depression, and communication. And you brought up something interesting about the holiday. We see a lot of depression and a lot of negative emotions come holiday season every year.
Yeah, and Sam, I mentioned early on in the show, you and I work together. You work with a lot of attorneys throughout the state of Michigan.
Yes.
We refer people to you for therapy, checking off the list of a lot of individuals you just mentioned. Also, in order to help us restore people's driving privileges and obtain alcohol and psychotherapy assessments for the court, you're the only person we refer people to. We send a lot of people to our friend Amy here in town for other reasons, the mayor of Mount Pleasant. But Sam, all of our cases go to you. We appreciate you. And it's obviously Thanksgiving is next week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Travel safe. Our next show will be a week after Thanksgiving. But Sam, let's talk about some tips. I mean, when family gets together, they pull each other's strings, as you just said, a lot of emotions. How can people deal with that? Like, how can you think about it ahead of time so that when you're involved and sitting there across from a family member who pulls your emotions, how do you deal with that?
Well, what's sad about what we're talking about here, gentlemen, is this. It's not as simple as just putting a turkey in the oven and enjoying family and the Lions and football. But a lot of times we have to ask ourselves, are all battles worth fighting? Is it really important that we take a stand and let people know how we feel or be confrontational? But I like to take the approach of effective communication and letting people know that maybe you're sorry if you hurt them, or gently pointing out that they were hurt by that comment. But at the same time, timing is everything. And one of the techniques I like people to use is maybe script ahead of time. How do you think it's going to go? How will you handle it if something negative is said? But also, can we set aside negative emotions for the sake of being with family?
Because the one thing you can never take back is the spoken word. Right. Once it's spoken, that's it. It's out there. You can't say, oh my gosh, why did I say that to that person? But, I mean, again, there was a book, I think it was it Dr. Dwyer, Sam, who wrote the book Pulling Your Own Strings, meaning
yes,
don't let other people pull your emotional strings. You got to cut those strings.
Well, again, it still comes down to me, effective communication. Sometimes, again, if people wait for the very last minute and they've been harboring anger and resentment, and somebody says something negative, that'll trigger a waterfall. Then people are sorry. But I'm still a great believer in telling people, if I said something terrible that upset you or hurt you, I feel very bad about that. And I'd like to add that I'm genuinely sorry, but it's important to acknowledge if you are genuinely sorry when you do make these comments.
Should people who have strong emotions about attending family functions because there may be somebody there who is related through marriage or a family member or a sibling, unfortunately, or a parent or a cousin, should they avoid going altogether despite, the pushback from the family to avoid confrontation?
Well, again, the approach I take sometimes in couples counseling and relationship counseling is this. It's important to discuss these issues beforehand. And one of the things I'll ask couples is, for the sake of keeping the family unit comfortable, can you make a cameo appearance? Can you come in and say hi to people? Can you bear with it? But at the same time, sometimes you have to make a decision if you feel that an environment is going to be too toxic. In other words, I think it's important to know what your limits are. But again, too many times, Todd, we see this too, and I'm sure you see it in the kind of work you do. People wait till the last minute to make a decision, and then they don't have time to process it and or think it through.
And Sam, yeah. I have a question for you.
Great info and advice.
Yes, I have a question. Why do you think families when they get together? What is the root of the issues that families? Why does this become such an issue? Why can't we all just get along? Why do families, when you get, say, an older generation and younger generation get together, why does it end up being so much of this back and forth, this problem?
You know, again, I like to be very careful about grouping everyone together because I know a lot of families and work with a lot of families where these issues don't happen. So my only idea on this is that maybe it's generational. Maybe it's always been this way. We don't know how families communicate with each other, what they say about each other behind closed doors. We don't know.
There's so much history and emotions growing up with siblings. You know, so I was raised by a single mother, bad stepfather for a minute. I mean, there's so many emotions that are decades old. It's hard to get rid of those emotions and those feelings that are so ingrained in us. We all have them. Yep. I mean, who can sit there and say there's not one family member in their entire life at any point in their life that didn't pull their strings or their emotions? And how can I look, I'm 58, I'm still at the kids' table. Can you talk to Jen for me, Sam? I mean, I never made it. I always wanted to go to the adult table. Never happened. Got some resentment there. I belong at the adult table. Don't you think so by now? Come on, Jen.
Well, you know, one suggestion I do talk about to people about is harboring anger. You know, AA even teaches, you know, holding on to anger and resentment is the same as drinking poison but hoping it bothers the other person. Sometimes, again, when we have angry thoughts, you know, we got to ask ourselves, why are we dwelling on it? What do we gain by holding on to it? And how long are we going to blame ourselves or blame somebody else for something that may have happened years ago?
Yeah, good point. Craig, you had a question?
Well, no, I was going to say we need to take a break. When we come back, we want to get back into more of this with Sam Gross, psychoanalyst who is here. Sam, if people want to use you, want to maybe hire you or have you help them, how do they get a hold of you?
248-875-4820. That is
Say
my
it one more
cell
time.
phone. That's the only line I have, and I'd be very happy to talk to any client or return a call if necessary.
Say it one more time.
Yep.
248-875-4820.
All right, we'll be back with Sam and with Todd and me, Craig, on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show coming back.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before. Yeah. The spirit of the woods is like an old good friend. Makes me feel warm and good inside. And I knew his name, and it was good to see him again. 'Cause in the wind he's still alive. Oh, Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I'll join you in the big hunt before too long.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
That's Sam Gross, who's a psychoanalyst. His name's Todd Levitt. I'm Craig, the Hustle, the Russell.
And I'm Sam Gross. Thank you for having me on the show. And happy birthday, little John.
Hey! We're all imitating each other. But hey, Sam, you were talking about people trying not to harbor emotions and keep things bottled up. What's the best way to maybe let some of those things go, some of those past aggressions, and move on with your life? I know it sounds like it's an easy thing, but what are some good ways to get rid of some of those past emotions so people don't push your buttons? Yeah,
painful experiences that you've had with individuals that you just can't let go.
Sometimes there's no easy answer without sometimes putting work into it, and I like to educate people and show them how to examine what could possibly be distortions in their thinking. One technique that I use with clients when they talk about childhood trauma, being abused, is this. It's called reattribution. When you were being abused or heard negative things growing up, how much of it was out of your control?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And if it's out of our control, why are we still blaming them or blaming us?
All right, here's my question. If not all the time, when you're just a kid, you're innocent. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do. It is out of a young child's control. Mm-hmm. But if a parent is the one that, as a result of their actions, is causing mental anguish and physical, but mental on a young child, how do you not hold resentment towards somebody who allows that as an adult to take place when you're just a kid? You don't even know any better, and you don't have any say in anything. You're just there, and you're taking the abuse because somebody's putting it out there, whether you are observing it or it's directed at you.
Well, now
how do you let that go?
Well, so now you mean are we? I want to be sure I understand. So, are you talking about as an adult?
Or a teenager, because let's say you have resentment towards somebody, a relative, because as a kid, when you had no control over it, and
so if
that
it's
person
out of your
then
control, could you also be using the mental filter and focusing exclusively on that and denying that in spite of the abuse, look what you've been able to achieve and go on and do?
Well, no, I'm not talking about myself. I'm just using that as an example for the audience out there, because you mentioned
the same thing goes.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to ask ourselves, were we still able to survive it? Do we still have families now? A lot of times I've told people who've discussed to me about abuse of being a child, when they were a child and now they're a parent, one thing I'll point out is, you're a dad, you're not your dad. What do you think is healthy moving forward? There are no easy answers. There are no scripts here. But I just think, if people hold on to anger and resentment and put too much time into it, they end up dwelling and magnifying it.
Yeah, I always tell people, try not to feel sorry for yourself. Don't compare yourself to other individuals, because you have no idea what somebody else behind that house or that apartment or trailer or camper, what somebody else is going through. Just because you see somebody in a fancy car or a big house. I mean, I grew up in Metro Detroit. I mean, I was raised Berkeley. I mean, pretty, normal neighborhood, blue collar. But we were surrounded by a lot of big houses and communities, Grosse Pointe, Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham. Oh, they got it made. They have it so great. And then as I got older and became friends with a lot of these individuals, I came to realize that they're just as screwed up as everybody else, that, having money and big houses and fancy cars, you're still human, and there's still a lot of BS going on behind all that facade. So don't compare yourself to others. Just focus on your own future and where your destiny can take you, because it's yours.
Well, my approach basically is this.
Do you agree with that?
Success is how we define it. Learn to be happy with ourselves. I mean, people of all faiths, all generations, socioeconomic issues, levels have issues just like humans, like other people. I mean, I've had very wealthy people tell me they think because I'm wealthy that everything is perfect. People suffer depression, anxiety, divorce, bankruptcies at all levels.
And see,
you're right. So what you're saying is, don't, if you come from a background where you don't have much, when I say financially, and don't compare yourself to other people, they have it so great, because humans are humans. It doesn't matter what you're hiding behind. That's how I feel.
And also, but here's another thing, though. when you're talking about people not, if you're abused early on, and you're talking about, not to dwell on that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we're talking about humans. Human beings have emotions. A lot of times, people can't decipher that it wasn't their fault. Like when a marriage breaks up and there's kids involved, even though the parents might tell the kids over and over and over, this is not your fault, it's got nothing to do with you. A lot of times, kids, they're human beings. They're going to run with stuff, and they might go, yeah, but it is my fault, and they will blame themselves, and that's hard to get through. And then when you all of a sudden get this family dynamic back together, it's hard for people to sometimes get over, especially with family, the people you are quote-unquote closest to. It's hard to get over some of those feelings and some of those emotions and look past that and not blame yourself for things, because we're all humans. We all take things like that differently.
Well, that's why I like people to practice effective communication. And I think the best time to deal with conflicts is when people are calm and not wait till the last minute. I think it's a great idea every now and then to call up people who are close to us and frankly ask, has there been anything I may have done lately that's upset you? Is there anything that we maybe need to address or discuss moving forward? And people, again, get into what it's called conflict phobia. They're afraid to confront the issue, thinking that could make it worse. Yet it might open up intimacy in ways that people don't realize. Let people know you were hurt, or ask people if you may have hurt them.
That's some really good advice. That's a lot of self-awareness that people, if they can exhibit that, those are good qualities to have. If you can go, look, have I done something to bother you? Because I want to make sure everyone's happy while we're all sitting around eating the turkey and watching the Lions lose on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's
Sam.
Again, the thing is, people wait till the last minute. Then it's too late. How do you help people when they're already at a trigger point?
How do you forgive somebody when you're a kid, you've been mentally and or physically abused, and now you're an adult, and the one that did the abusing is now a senior citizen, and they're older, they look older, they may not, they can't exhibit that behavior no longer because the young kid is now an adult, and they, so you're saying that young child who becomes a young person should forgive the now senior who may have mentally and physically abused them all those years? I mean, do you think it's wrong to hold resentment and anger? Not that you have to act out on it in any negative way, but just to hold it, because it's hard to forgive somebody when they've done something that egregious to you.
No one says you need to expose yourself to toxic people and be okay with it. But I would also take the approach, sometimes we got to ask ourselves, what are we holding on to? What are we gaining by holding on to? I've asked people to do mental surveys and ask themselves, how many minutes a day are they spending being angry at something that might be over? Because basically, where do thoughts originate? We manufacture them, and it's the bottom line is our thoughts create our emotions. So if we have a negative emotion, we gave ourselves a negative thought. Can we talk back to those thoughts and say, this person at this point is helpless, and what they did to me is still unthinkable. However, look where I am now. Look what I've achieved. And remind yourself, too, are they still hurting you?
Sam, maybe we should let's switch gears a little bit here. The holidays, of course, not only just Thanksgiving, but Christmas, time a lot of families get together, and they, a lot of times it isn't anything that is a past thing. It's just people with different personalities know how to push each other's buttons, and you could be. You could all get along or have a good family history and stuff, yet there's still going to be some conflict at times. Other than talking ahead of time, is there any ways to handle that right in the moment?
Well, you can never plan it, you can never time it, and sometimes you don't see it coming. And that's why I think it's always a good idea is pre-plan any potential fallout. Imagine what's the worst case scenario that could happen when you're around certain individuals, and practice a healthy response. Practice it in your head. Talk it out with someone you're close with, and learn to accept that people cannot always be the way we want them to be.
Well, here's a
Things aren't
question for you,
going our
Sam.
way. It's another form of anger, saying I'm not in control here.
Well, here's a question for you. And again, I'm thinking in my memory bank of people I've come across in my lifetime. So I'm asking you these questions, for these people, the people who are listening out there, or people that I've known throughout my life that grew up in those situations, and to learn some tools and techniques. But what about the individual who goes to the family function, and you're with your wife, your girlfriend, whomever, and then you leave and you're in the vehicle on the way home, and you're so angry that you start to take it out on other individuals? What tools and techniques can you provide to listeners? Because we've all been there. Listen, how many of us have been upset in our lifetime, whether you're in college or wherever at any age, and then you turn to someone who has nothing to do with it, and you're just not being very nice. So how do you control that?
Well, again, we talked about this earlier. Once a person reaches a certain level of anger, it's too late. But you got to ask yourself, too, what is anger? And to me, anger is a loss of control, or it's anxiety, or things aren't going my way, I don't like it. And is it really fair to share that or take it out on another person?
Yeah, absolutely not. But, we're all human. And again, you can't take back the spoken word.
Isn't it, I think a healthy response is, that was wrong of me if I hurt you.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And can't you, and you can also, look, there's always, the statements, hey, everybody around the dinner table, we're not talking about politics today. We're not going to, there's some trigger points you can just try to avoid that are going to cause issues if you start getting into them with a big family function. You can kind of temper that yourself. Look, if somebody's going to goad me into a conversation to talk about politics or about, something that I don't want to get into because it's going to blow my cork, there's ways to just kind of ease away from that. Maybe focus on, hey, everybody's doing good this year. Hey, everybody's having a nice family time. Hey, wasn't that a great game? Hey, there's things you can talk about that won't be those trigger points.
Well, I always think a good response is when I'm put in a situation where people will ask about a political situation or bring up politics, my answer pretty much is straightforward. That's interesting, or you have strong opinions on that, or really, no kidding. We don't always have to respond. We don't always have to comment.
Yeah, just don't talk about it.
Just say, wow, you have strong feelings. That's interesting. They're just letting you know what's important to them.
Yep.
Throughout the last, if we're triggered by it.
Sam, we're speaking with Sam Gross, psychotherapist out of Metro Detroit, statewide, nationwide. Sam, so much appreciate everything you do for all of us and a lot of my clients. Give out your phone number if somebody out there is in need. They have, depression, anxiety, or the anger issues, and they just need to speak to somebody such as yourself. Because look, just because you have a degree and you go to someone who's a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist, just because they have that title, just like a lawyer, doesn't mean anything. What kind of person are you meeting with? Who's on the other end that you're speaking to? And Sam, you have provided so much help to so many people I know. You're an amazing. I wish there were like 1,000 of you. How can people get a hold of you?
Well, thank you, sir. 248-875-4820, and I'm very happy to give free consultations over the phone.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad there's not 1,000 of Sam. Sam is one of a kind, and we like him just the way he is.
But it holds true. I'll talk to my clients and say, listen, I could send you here, there, or to this person or that place or this place, but you need somebody who cares and that will listen and to fit your personality. I think it's so important in therapy that there's a fit, that you just don't send somebody to somebody because they have a title. Who's the person behind the title, and do they care? And Sam, you care, and you've helped so many people. We really appreciate your time here, taking it out, being on a show with us.
Well, thank you very much for the invite.
And have a happy holiday too, because I'm sure we won't talk to you.
Happy Thanksgiving, Sam.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Sam. We're thankful for you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We've got to take a break. We'll come back to wrap up the Todd L. Levitt Law Show next.
There I was, back in the wild again. And I felt right at home, where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again. Just like it happened so many times before. Yeah. The spirit of the woods is like an old good friend. Makes me feel warm and good inside. And I knew his name, and it was good to see him again. 'Cause in the wind he's still alive. Oh, Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I'll join you in the big hunt before too long.
Welcome back to the Todd 11 Law Show. Opening day rifle, Michigan last week. Playing, I loved Uncle Ted, Fred Bear. Got Sam Gross in the mothership with his adorable cat in the background.
What's your cat's
name? Yeah. There you go.
That is Caesar the King.
Caesar.
That's great.
That's awesome.
We're gonna call Little John and wish him happy birthday.
Hey!
I think he's 74.
Wow.
Remember last time we called him a couple weeks ago? We couldn't get a hold of him.
Yeah.
He's the most reliable human I know besides Sam Gross.
Hello.
Hey, Little John, welcome to the show.
My brother from another brother. What are you up to?
Hey, Little John, we got Sam Gross, Craig Russell, the Hustle, the Muscle, and yours truly, calling you to wish you happy birthday. How old are you, Little John?
Oh, I can't tell you that. If I told you that, it'd make you feel like you were kids yet.
Oh, man. Hey, Little John, everybody thinks that Craig Russell, the Hustle, the Muscle sounds more like you than you do. What do you think about that?
Well, you know how it goes. Easy come, easy go.
Yep. How'd you do opening?
He can take after my reputation.
That's right.
How'd you do on opening day?
Well, I seen a lot, but I didn't shoot nothing yet.
Okay.
I've got a lot more days to go, so I just let him keep on trucking.
Yep. Sam's cat, Caesar, by the way, just wished you a happy birthday.
Well, thank you, and thank you all. I'll be 73.
Okay. Well, Little John, we love you, bro. We only have a few minutes here, but I told you we'd get you on the show. We'll have you in the studio in a couple weeks down the road, but we appreciate you, Little John, and everything you do for the community out there and all the Eagles, right?
Yeah, not so much Eagles. I'm retiring, you know?
Okay.
They're taking time for John.
It's John's time, guys.
Good for you.
Time.
Good for you, Little John.
All right, Little John, we got to let you go, but happy birthday, brother.
Love yous. Be safe. Have a good day. Don't eat too much turkey. And we'll talk to yous in the movies.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone out there, because this is the show before Thanksgiving. And again, we still have Sam with us. Sam, we so much appreciate you. And your big shout out to anyone you want to give a shout out to, Sam, and your family there?
Happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
How about Dr. Love, Herb Gilbert? We love Herb Gilbert. Nationwide,
yes.
Interlock. Yep. Craig, how about you?
I'll just say, happy Thanksgiving. Very, very grateful for everything for this past year. It's been a really good year all around. And, you can look at it one way or the other. This has been a good year for me personally and also for my family. So thankful for everyone and thankful for you, Todd. Thankful for the show and thankful for everyone at Black Diamond. And can't say enough about everybody. Everybody's
same
fantastic.
here. I'm thankful to all the same family, loved ones, Jen, kids, everyone. Also, I got just one last quick statement about hunting out there to all my fellow shredders on their fat tires, gravel, mountain bikes. Stay the hell out of the woods right now.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks.
Bikers.
Yeah.
Look, we have the state parks almost year round, most of the year. I mean, yes, you have a right to be in the parks right now on state land, but when it comes time for bow and rifle, I stay off the single tracks out of the state parks. Let the families and the hunters and their kids and the first timers, let them have state land. Just stay off of the trails. We have plenty of time to go mountain biking, go indoors, go for a walk. Just stay out of the woods and don't spook the deer. And that goes out to all my fellow shredders, hikers, runners. I mean, half the people won't even listen. They'll go out there in the woods. One, it's not safe. Two, it's disrespectful. You know, the state parks are for most of the year open and not to hunters. So let the hunters have their due. That's all I want to say.
Couldn't say it better. Couldn't say it better.
Anyhow, we got to go, right, Craig?
We do. Show's over, Todd. Let's go.
Craig, Sam, Gross, and everybody out there in their deer blinds, take us out. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. I'm not just a litigator. I'm an advocator. I love you, Uncle Ted. Fred Bear. We'll see you soon.
Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I'll join you on the big hunt before too long. Oh, Fred Bear, walk with me down the trails again. Take me back where I belong. Oh, Fred Bear, I'm glad to have you at my side, my friend. And I'll join you in the big hunt before too long. In the wind.
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Clark Modular Homes of Mount Pleasant, Rusty Gold Antiques in Everett, Chad Malley Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clear Vision Windows, Siding and Roofing of Midland, and attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.